Alexander the Great, crowned king at the age of 20, ruled for 13 years and died at the age of 33, said, I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. I am afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion. Alexander the Great was an ancient Macedonian ruler and one of history's greatest military minds, who as king of Macedonia and Persia established the largest empire the ancient world had ever seen. Alexander the Great said, I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. Alexander the Great said, I am not. It echoes very close to Socrates telling, the only one thing I know is I know not, I know not, I am not, I know not, I do not know, I am not. Alexander said, I am not. In the Shivananda Ashram, Shivananda Swamiji, Chidananda Swamiji used to sing, I am not this body is not mine. I am not this body is not mine. I am not this body is not mine. That is, I got a deep connecting link to India. Socrates said, the only one thing I know is I know not. And Socrates' student was Plato. Plato's student was Aristotle. Aristotle's student was Alexander the Great, that connecting link. And Alexander was sent at the age of 13 to learn under Plato's academy. The greatest philosopher, Aristotle's, to learn under Aristotle at the age of 13. So 7 full years he was with the philosophers. And that's what the word came, I am not. He said, I am not this body. When I am not this body, whom should I get frightened? I am not this body. When I am not this body, it is like the coronavirus doesn't have a body. It is just a fat and people are frightened. It doesn't have a DNA. And he said, I am not. And the whole world got frightened when he said, I am not. Corona said, I am not. I am not a DNA. Whole world got frightened when you have a DNA. I am not afraid of an army. He said, I am not afraid. He's telling, I am not afraid. From where did he get the word I am not and I am not afraid? That came from when at the age of 20, when his father was assassinated. That 20-year-old boy, the deep down anchor, the deep down feeling of his philosophy penetrated so deep that he pushed his roots so deep into the earth to stand tall and walk around. And when the whole country was burning with energy, he took the country soldiers to march ahead. And when he marched ahead, when he could conquer the first country, he got the first taste he knew, because he learned from the philosopher, one step leads to 10,000 steps. The road is free. He went on capturing countries of the country. I am not afraid. The name, the term itself, I am not afraid. The fear, I do not have the fear. The fear itself is war. When you can fight with the war, if you are frightened of the war, then the fear will take over you. You become the fear. You walk like a dead body. I am not afraid means the fear is a war. You have to fight the war to overcome the fear. When you overcome the fear, you have won the battle. Yes. Then you can see the truth. As long as you live in fear, nobody can help you out. I am not afraid of an army. Army, when the army is not frightened of army, when I am not. When the afraid is gone, the fear is gone, the war is gone. You fought a war. Then which army in the world can stand against you? Which army of diseases can stand against you? Which philosophy, which question can frighten you? Which business leader is frightened to stabilize 1,000-year history? Which man in the house is frightened to create a joint family? Which head of the family is frightened to create the family tree. That's what Alexander the Great was saying. I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. To led by a sheep, led. He said he can understand, he can penetrate deep inside, he can focus, he can observe, and he can absorb. By observing and absorbing, he can understand that army is led by a sheep. How did you know the army is led by a sheep? He can understand, he can observe that big. He can understand from where the army came. If the army came from a country which doesn't follow rainwater harvesting, a country which doesn't follow solar, a country which is not neat and clean, a country doesn't respect the gurus, the country which doesn't respect the seniors, the country which dumps the father and mother into the old age home, that country is led by a sheep. He knows. He has to only look deeper to understand from which country that people come, what kind of culture they're having. Yes, that is the connecting link. Alex, I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. Led by a sheep. From where did he got so much penetrated? Penetration came from Diogenes. That came from Diogenes. Diogenes lived in a small tin shed or a small pipe kind of a thing in the center of the city, the greatest philosopher the world has ever seen. And Alexander went to Diogenes and he told, I am Alexander the Great with all the riches of the world. Tell me what you want. And Diogenes said, please stand aside, you are blocking the sun. Alexander the Great said, if I was not Alexander the Great, I could have been Diogenes. Look at the penetrating link from Socrates to Plato to Aristotle. Diogenes, every gene was deep inside Alexander the Great for him to march ahead. When coronavirus came into the city, Alexander the Great marched into the village and he created enough of wealth, enough of food grains. He tilled the land. He did not wait for the government to give him a job. He did not beg the government for a salary. He moved ahead. He did not wasted a single time. That was the connecting link Alexander the Great was telling. I am not afraid. I am not a serpent. I am not. Already I am not this body. Then where is the fear coming? I overcome the fear of an army of lions. Even the lion doesn't frighten me. But in the lion I can penetrate and understand there is a sheep who is leading the lion. How did the sheep came? In the house the man should be a man, not a sheep. I used to take my children for a walk and I used to ask my children, look at this house. Whether it is led by a sheep or lion. And my children look at the house. It must be a posh house. And the children will tell, this house, no rainwater harvesting, no solar, means it is led by a sheep. There is no lion in the house. If the house, the lion of the house, if is not in deep, intimate relationship with the nature, if is not in intimately, they have the person would not have a deep, intimate relationship with the nature, then temples and churches and mosques becomes important. That house which doesn't have deep intimate relationship with the nature, with the rainwater harvesting and solar, then he must be a robber. That rich man, the big house, it can be a sheep. He must be having a robbery mind. A cheap mind is not very strong. That was the connecting link. I am afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion. He said army of sheep. But if the lion is very great, he's not telling he's frightened of a lion. He was telling led by a sheep. And the lion is now provoking, inspiring the people to have rainwater harvesting and solar. And during the corona time, he's telling, go to the villages and build up enough food grains, build up the joint family system, build up the family tree. He is alive. I will respect him. I will not conquer him. I will not beat him. It's not I am frightened of him. It is out of respect, respectful fear. I just fall on his feet. That was Alexander the Great was telling. I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. I am afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion. This is my 80th short discourse.